Hello and welcome to the Gaggle What We Challenge, and if necessary, destroy media narratives. I'm George Szamuely. With me today, of course, is co-founder of the Gaggle, Peter Lavelle. So, Peter, today is the anniversary of the assassination attempt on then former President Trump. Now he is current President Trump, and that I think one would have to say that that event was transformative in that race. I mean, I think Trump was ahead in the polls, but the assassination attempt, Trump's response to the assassination attempt, sealed the deal. I think that people were moved.
However, Joe, I agree with you in the moment at the time, but I wonder how many of our viewers you had to you know you had to prompt them. You had to tell them it is the
It
anniversary.
is exactly.
Nobody needs prompting about the assassination of John F. Kennedy,
It's very that's
and that was a long time ago.
that was November 22nd, 1963. Um, and of course, there have been other attempted assassinations over the years. I mean, there was, of course, John Hinckley's attempt to assassinate President Reagan in 1981. So that was already also a long time ago, 44 years ago. And then, of course, there was Arthur Bremer, who attempted to assassinate George Wallace. That was 1972. And then I think you mentioned Squeaky Fromm. Uh,
And the only reason why I remember because it's such a funny
it's
name.
a very
Okay.
funny name. That's right. So that so um, so that was but it was nonetheless during that election race, it set in motion a series of events that secured for the election definitively for Trump. I mean, because within 2 days there was the Republican Party convention. There he chose J.D. Vance as his running mate, and then almost immediately afterwards, Joe Biden, under still mysterious circumstances, dropped out of the race and handed it over without any kind of a consultation within the party to his vice president, and suddenly the
Yes,
Democrats had a nominee
a
that
generic
no one had voted for.
on a generic stationery.
That's right. Yes. So suddenly, hey,
And so was it the auto pen or
we
well, yeah, okay, two things. George, you just named famous or
mhm.
infamous people that attempted assassination or succeeded in the case of Lee Harvey Oswald. At least we're led to believe that. So what's the name of the guy that tried to kill Trump?
His name is Crooks, Thomas
Only
Crooks,
George seems to
but
remember
only
that.
only because I looked it
You
up.
looked it up. You looked it up.
Yes,
Okay.
but then I have to ask, what about the second assassin? I had to look that one up as well. But now
Why, George? Why did you have to look it up?
to prepare for this,
No, exactly true. But it is very interesting that, well, where did the story go?
yeah, that is
That's
very
why we don't remember because it was if it's almost as if it didn't happen.
yes. You're
It's true.
absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I think it's amazing how it's been buried. Really.
And by President Trump himself.
Right. He hasn't talked much about that. I think everyone remembers the iconic photo with his blood pouring down his face, and he's got his fist raised and he's saying "fight, fight, fight." Everyone remembers that. They don't remember the assassin, Crooks, and then of course we have the second apparently attempted assassination, but certainly it's I mean, well, we could talk about that. What exactly happened in the case of the second attempt at assassination? However, the what is also baffling is how little we still know about either event. Now, as far as the media are concerned, there were lone assassins. No, there was no one else involved. And yet, the more we look at the two cases, the more questionable does the lone assassin. Well, it doesn't have to be a conspiracy theory to wonder about how this person, Crooks, who didn't seem to be a terribly political person, um, and why did he embark on this?
Well, George, I agree, but I mean, there's a juxtaposition here that's really interesting to me, since you've, brought it up, because I haven't been thinking about it. But since you've mentioned it, what was our focus on? On Trump's security,
Right,
not on the
right,
motivations
right.
of the attempted the alleged assassin. It's really interesting, and of course, the security interest focus is germane. I mean, because it was in the moment, but. Why did these guys do this?
Well, you see, this
Okay.
is what,
And
but
it's not there was there's a lot of people that felt, and I think for good reason at the time, is that was security lax because they wanted a successful assassination.
right.
Okay, which is a fair question. Okay, particularly that picture of what was he, a midget from the
It
circus?
was she. She was a woman, a normal-sized woman. But
Okay.
the problem is that, Trump is quite a big man, and normal security guards are usually
Like
very.
refrigerators.
Exactly, they're very big men. I mean, that's the whole point. You have very big men who can then provide you with security, as they did in the case of Ronald Reagan, when they just simply picked him up and threw him into the van. Now, you see, when you look at these rather small women, they don't look like they could pick up Donald Trump and throw him into the van. So that's why it's such an iconic shot. Oh, that's security, and he comes up to his waist. I mean, what kind of security are you providing? Um,
But because of there was so much focus on there was a lack of focus on the shooters themselves. George, because you and I live in this hyper-intensive world of news, I have only vague recollections now of the whole thing.
No, that's absolutely right. And now, in the case of Crooks, and I think we'll come to a few of these stories that have now appeared. What's baffling is, I say, there's no record of any political activity on his part, which is very strange because assassinations are not like random killings. Yeah, somebody who just opens up a gun in a shopping mall. Yeah, that's just,
Well,
mentally
think of
unstable.
the
But
the
an
manifesto.
assassination is almost always very focused and directed. It's usually a political person who wants to achieve a political goal through an assassination.
Think of the assassination, murder of the two Israeli embassy officials in Washington, D.C. This guy's manifesto, he worked on it for a long time,
Right,
okay, because
right,
it was coherent.
right.
We know what motivated him. You can agree or disagree with him,
Right.
obviously,
Right.
but there's no mystery there.
No.
But in the case of the attempted assassination of Trump, we know about that much.
Right. Exactly. Now, even in the case of Hinckley, which he was obviously deranged, but at least we know something about what was motivating Hinckley. Now, in the case of the George Wallace, well, I don't think it's a great mystery why somebody would want to
Yeah.
shoot George Wallace in 1972. Um, and then of course you go back and Oswald. Oswald was a very political person. There was a long track record of political activity on the part of Oswald, and John Wilkes Booth and so on. Many assassinations. We know the Israeli terrorists. They carried out a lot of assassinations, and we always knew why they did it. When they assassinated Count Bernadotte and so on. Stolypin in Russia. We know why that was the assassination. But this is kind of a mystery. Crooks, nothing, and yet Crooks went to a lot of trouble to conceal, his traces. He used all kinds of encrypted apps. And then, why did he do that? Why did he do that? And that is a mystery. Why was he going to so much trouble to conceal his essentially his internet musings and internet
Well, he was more focused on the process than a motive, it seems like.
seems so. It seems so. Now, I will come to the case of the other person. Now, he did seem to have a motive. I mean, he was very, very
But a
involved
motive
in
that nobody
Ukraine.
wants to talk about. Okay.
Exactly. And that's another thing, which is that it's all been buried. And everyone said, oh, of course, lone assassin had nothing to do with Ukraine. Well, that's odd. This guy was obsessed with Ukraine. He spent time in Ukraine. He'd done
A
all the
go-to
tours.
guy for mainstream media.
Right. That's right. So we can come to that and just look at some of these stories. First, let's look at the case of Crooks. So we just remember his name is Crooks, Thomas Crooks. And then, there's CBS, they did this long investigation. But what's interesting here is here it says in the summer of 2023, Crooks bought a rifle from his dad for, I'm not quite sure why they refer to his father as dad. I mean, he may call his father dad, or he called his father dad. I'm not quite sure why journalists refer to him as dad, but I don't know. For $500 and signed up for a membership at a local shooting range. He became a regular at Clareton Sportsman's Club, about 9 miles from his home, signing in to use the rifle range more than 40 times in the last 11 months of his life, records show. Now, we also know something about that. A lot of police and, special agents, they use that same shooting range. That doesn't necessarily mean anything, but nonetheless, it wasn't just local villagers at the shooting range. Around that time, records obtained by CBS News show he started using encryption services that masked some of his internet use, mixing those with more typical visits to sites like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and X. And then his habits started to rapidly shift that fall. To his professors, he still appeared focused on getting straight A's and preparing to apply to the engineering programs at the University of Pittsburgh and Robert Morris University. But his online activity suggests his attention was elsewhere. He began to more frequently use an encrypted email service called MailFence and a virtual private network called Mulvad. Both would shield his online life from anyone who might pry. But already there were some odd aspects to this. I mean, first of all, he was at which I don't understand from why he's at a community college. They say he got the superlative SAT score. Well, why is he at a community college? Oh, he's getting straight A's, but that's not the point. I mean, if you get these really good SAT score, then I don't know why you'd be at a community college. Um,
And you can essentially just go straight to university based on.
if you got a good SAT
I mean,
score,
if
that's
you're at a community college and you present it to a university, to an engineering department, they're going to say, "Well, come on board." I mean,
right.
they don't take community college courses seriously. This is part of the arrogance in academia.
Right.
Okay.
That's right. Um, And now, so he's saying he's doing this encrypted, email service. I mean, rather puzzling why
But
he
what was he? Was he looking at porn? I mean, what?
could be. But the point is that it's odd that he was using I mean, if you're looking at porn, it's not a good idea to use the university
Yeah.
computer system to do
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I mean, why can't you do that at home? I mean, Um, an analysis by CBS News of Crooks's internet routines show he developed an increasing interest in news, explosives, and ammo and secrecy. The records include nearly a year of Crooks's activity on his college's wireless internet network. They show hundreds of visits to websites ranging from academic email account and discussion boards to his bank, news sites, gaming platforms, social media, weapons blogs, and Steelers fan site. So right away you're puzzled, well, why is he using the university's internet service to go to all these, like to his bank? He can't do it at home, to look into his bank, um, gaming platforms, um, weapons blogs. So,
Well, I mean, all of these things can be this, I don't know, maybe mundane interest of someone his age, George. I mean,
absolutely. Um, but why use the encryption?
yeah.
And then logs of Crooks's on-campus internet activity, which CBS News obtained through a public records request, indicate that in the last months of his life, he became increasingly rigid about secrecy, shrouding his activities through encrypted services. And then on some days, he left little trace of his activity, choosing instead to first turn on Malvad, virtual private networks known as VPNs, route users' web traffic through encrypted tunnels, hiding their activity from prying eyes, such as a college's web tracking security software. While Crooks was using Malvad, his browsing history was effectively sealed off. In December 2023, a month before Crooks's final semester started, his life began to split in two. He was focused on his college applications and at the same time fixated on mass violence. One day, he emailed himself to review his personal statement for his application. On another, he emailed customer service to complain that the explosive fuel he ordered had not yet been shipped. Investigators later concluded he would have been able to engineer bombs in his bedroom without his parents knowing. But at the same time, why? Why is he doing this? I mean, is he getting interested in anarchy, revolution? I mean, just simply, oh, he wants to make a bomb? Just like that, out of nowhere, he suddenly develops this interest in making a bomb. Um, And then Crooks graduated from community college in May 2024. On June the 14th, less than a month before the assassination attempt, he sent one last email from his community college account. It was to the registrar. Crooks wanted to know when he'd receive his diploma. On the morning of the attack, Crooks drove to the Butler Farm showgrounds and stayed for a little more than an hour before driving home. Investigators said that at about 1:30 p.m., Crooks got his rifle from the house. It was the gun he had purchased from his dad the year before. Crooks' father told investigators he believed his son was going to the range. In addition to the rifle, Crooks put a drone and two homemade bombs in his trunk, along with remote transmitters capable of detonating them from more than 1,000 feet away. He left a partially assembled explosive device in his bedroom.
Well, I don't know if we're going to return to it, but well, with this encryption stuff. So you use encryption because you don't want people to know what you're doing. Well, maybe he was working with someone and he wanted to keep it secret. Maybe he was in contact with
Right,
someone and obviously wanted to keep it secret.
right,
Maybe he had a handler and wanted to keep it secret.
right.
I mean, these are all fair game questions,
Yeah.
okay? Because we don't know why, you switch on a VPN to become invisible or almost invisible. So there are no prying eyes. He didn't have a problem with people looking at when he was looking at his bank or
Right.
looking at, gun sites or whatever like that.
How
So
how how do you turn a VPN on if you're using somebody else's computer? I mean,
I
he's
don't
using
know,
he's
George.
using a college computer, so how does he use a VPN? I mean, you can use it on.
Unless, unless he was he can access it on his phone and he can throw in a VPN. How that changes anything, I'm the last person on earth
Right,
to ask. But so you know, I know there's more to this article, but this was all the activity he was on his
right,
computer account at
right,
the community college,
right,
not at home.
right.
So we don't know what he was doing at home, but we only know what he was doing at the community
Exactly.
college.
That's a
Okay.
thing. Yeah. But
Okay.
my recollection, and this article doesn't go into it, that the computers at home they weren't able to break the code at the computers. I think that was completely encrypted. My recollection is that they didn't get anywhere with his home
I
computer.
don't believe that for a second,
Neither
George.
do I, to be honest. I don't.
And not for a second,
Yeah, I
okay?
don't. I don't.
Sorry, we couldn't get into it. No, I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, these cyber people. I mean, these have to be, the best in the world. I mean, if you can't get into it, then what are you doing? Why are you picking up a a big salary? Um, but you see, given this, You have to be
A guy in a community college has such advanced crypto skills and
right.
tools. I mean, come on. I mean, I'm sure he was a smart guy, probably got straight A's and all that. Okay, but you can't convince me that there aren't
Exactly.
specialists who couldn't break this in a few seconds.
Exactly. That's exactly what I thought. Um, uh, but you see, given his the secretiveness, you have to wonder, was he in touch with somebody else? Um, and then Crooks went to a store near his home and bought ammunition. That's all. This is all on the day of the assassination attempt, which kind of is strange. I mean, you're buying your ammunition on the day of the assassination. I thought it's kind of you want to get everything already planned well ahead of time. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's like, oh yeah, he's going to be there in an hour and
yeah,
15 minutes.
I better get
Ammo, gotta get ammo. Yep, yep.
I
Okay.
got to get to the ammo store before it closes. Um, and bought ammunition, according to investigators, and then returned to the Butler Farm showgrounds as Trump supporters lined up to enter the highly publicized rally at the height of the presidential campaign. Crooks took a drone out of his car and flew it over the rally site for nearly 12 minutes, and then beginning at 3:51, and potentially using the drone's cameras to view the podium where Mr. Trump would soon speak. Is it that easy to get hold of a drone? I mean, can anyone
Well,
do it?
I think I don't think there's much difficulty. One thing, again, I betray my age here, but you have to be skilled to be able to understand what
I
a
think so.
drone is telling you. I mean,
Right.
is he looking at the drone on a phone?
Yep.
I
Yep.
mean, a phone screen is pretty small, okay? And you have the you have the skill set to be
Yep.
able to manage a drone while trying to understand what you're seeing. I think
Right.
for me that would be really difficult.
I would find
Or
it
it would need an enormous amount of practice to do something.
exactly. Again, this guy, is what is it, 20 years old? 20, 21. He's at community college, and he's really at genius level, doing all of this. Um, and
And what was that encrypted? Was somebody else, did someone else have access to what he was doing in real time?
right, right. But you also have to go ask, well, if he's able to use a drone to figure out what's going on, why couldn't Secret Service use a drone to spot a would-be assassin who's actually in plain sight, is on top of a roof, and they couldn't, top of a roof, which with a direct sight on the podium. I mean, no one thought of using a drone to
So
see
there was no drone watching for drones.
exactly. At 6:02 p.m., Mr. Trump took the stage. Crooks ascended to the rooftop 3 minutes later. Panicked bystanders began calling the police. At 6:11 p.m., moments before Crooks opened fire, a Butler detective decided to pursue Crooks on the roof. He later described to congressional investigators the look on Crooks's face as the detective began to pull himself up. Says Crooks turned his gun toward the detective, who fell backwards and immediately radioed that the suspect was armed. The message never made it to the security detail for Mr. Trump. Okay, well, just
I remember when we did the first video on this, and I was just basically saying, yeah, the empire's done. Okay, it just come on, everybody, they just get allocated $1 trillion.
right, right,
Okay.
right.
Oh, what
Yeah,
was the frequency of the Trump detail? Did they have? Did somebody give us the frequency?
that's
Or
right.
I mean, this the again, we focus so much on the
Right,
incompetence now
right,
that
right.
I remember.
But
Yeah.
this is why we were puzzled whether was this, as you said at the beginning, was this incompetence, or was this, were you really asleep at the switch, or you deliberately got very sleepy at the switch? Because a message never made it to the security detail. The guy, he's got a gun. He's pointing right at the speaker. Well, didn't get a message. Of course, the guy, Crooks fired 8 shots, so he got 8 shots in. Seconds later, Crooks fired 8 shots, killing firefighter Corey Comparatore, injuring Mr. Trump and 2 others. A Secret Service sniper returned fire, hitting Crooks in the face and killing him. The shooter is down hard. A local police officer radioed. Mr. Trump was swarmed by Secret Service agents trying to remove him from the stage. I think now, so we go. That's the next one. So that's the that was the first case, and
Oh, okay,
we were
George, how much have we learned? I mean,
nothing.
this is
This is pretty much the same thing.
okay.
Yep.
What I don't. This is inexplicable to me. I'm sorry. This it should be considering post 9/11 funding,
Right.
expansion of the surveillance state. Should be the most explained assassination attempt
Right.
ever,
Right.
ever. We
Right.
should know was the guy wearing boxers or briefs?
Right.
Okay, we got. Did he use aftershave that day? Okay, we should know everything,
Right.
but we don't. We hardly know
We
anything.
know nothing. We know absolutely nothing. And so that's why the whole thing becomes so suspicious that why would this person just throw his life away like that? I mean, he's a young man. No evidence, incidentally, of mental sickness. He wasn't getting treated for anything. No, we said there was not no political views. He's not just like suddenly getting very worked up about what's going on, getting worked up about Trump or anything else. That's why you have to wonder whether somebody put him up to it, because there's just nothing here to indicate that why would he decide to embark on this? He's got his whole life ahead of him. Seems to be a smart guy. Why, what's going on here? And I think that's why you have to just wonder that about the lone assassin theory. This lone assassin theory in this case really doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, and I mean, if I remember, if I recall correctly, this was completely out of the blue for his parents.
Yes,
Now, I can understand, men at that age, they're coming into their own. They want to have their, some kind of agency and all that. But he was living in their house,
he was
George.
living in the house. Yeah, and from what can gather,
It's the encryption thing that bothers me the
the
most.
encryption thing.
Because who is he
That's right.
you hide your communications,
Right.
you hide what you're viewing and all of
Right.
that. Okay.
Right.
And what happens is that if you want to communicate with me, you have to do encrypt. Here are the encryption
Right.
tools.
Right.
Okay. Here, it's meet in the parking lot. I'll give them to
Right.
you, and and then you do
Right.
it from there on your own. I mean, I am a complete novice in this area. You can make fun of me if you want, but again, but encryption means stealth,
Yes.
and that's this. I think that's the key to all of this here,
Yes.
because you know what, George, the current DOJ just doesn't seem to be interested.
Yes. And that's why that's what the whole thing is so strange, because as we look through these stories, um, 1 year later, it's as if, well, we haven't learned anything. 12 months have gone by, and it's the same story. That's what we knew all this in the first 24 hours,
Yeah.
and you've added nothing to the story, not one thing to the story. And so that's so it really it's just so bizarre, because again with the other cases with Oswald, we learned so much about Oswald's past and everything about his life in the Soviet Union, his defection to the Soviet, everything. But here, I mean, 12 months
Everybody,
go by,
you could,
nothing.
if they still have public libraries, there's an entire shelf of books on Lee Harvey
Yes,
Oswald.
yes, yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
a whole shelf.
right, yeah. Um, and so so after all this time, that's why it's suspicious. Now, in the case of the second would-be assassin, which happened really 2 months later, in this time in Palm Beach, Florida. Um, Clearly, there's a clear political motivation. There's that you cannot get around it. But strangely enough, that has been swept under the rug. Here is a photograph of Rook, and if you can read it, it's a little hard to read. Please, world, We need everyone here. This is good against evil. These children want normal lives. He's got the Ukrainian flag there. We cannot tolerate corruption and evil for another 50 plus years. End Russia for our kids. So he's there, he's taking part in this demonstration. End Russia for our kids. And so we learned very quickly that this person is a fanatic, was a fanatic on the issue of Ukraine. It says Routh appeared briefly in federal court in West Palm Beach on Monday. He had frequently posted on social media about the war in Ukraine and had a website where he sought to raise money and recruit volunteers to go to Kiev to join the fight against the Russian invasion. Fight and die to stop aggression, he posted on X in February 2023 about Ukraine.
Well,
Everyone.
it's not much of an advertising. And die? Okay, okay. This guy, he doesn't have the Madison Avenue touch
No,
here.
no,
Okay.
that's right. No, exactly, exactly. Yes. Everyone should be outraged and helping. In a video circulating online, Routh said, "This is about good versus evil." He also wrote separately on X, "I'm going to fight and die for Ukraine," which he didn't do, but it was he liked the sound of this fighting and dying. And then video shot by the Associated Press showed Routh at a small demonstration in Kiev's Independence Square in April 2022, 2 months after Russian President Vladimir Putin ordered an invasion of the country. A placard he was holding said, "We cannot tolerate corruption and evil for another 50 plus years. End Russia for our kids." And so this is
What's the 50-year reference?
for another 50 plus years. Well, that's a very good question. I'm not sure. I mean, did he mean the Bolshevik? But that was more than 50 plus years. So that's a very good question. I don't know why he picked.
It seems he has his own timeline. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, okay. I mean, here's a guy. Reason why Brent mentioned it is that there a lot of people, particularly in the first few months of the military operation in Ukraine, they were susceptible to very crude propaganda, and so he um, wasn't very picky about what he would repeat to people.
Right.
The unprovoked invasion,
Right.
all of this here. And so he's not very sophisticated. I mean, his poster isn't very
No.
sophisticated. I'm not, why is he talking about children? I'm not really sure. Okay. I mean, obviously we know now he was a bit of a fanatic, but he wasn't very discerning, it seems like. He didn't seem knowledgeable
But you
about
see,
what was
but
going on.
the fact that he's not discerning and not very knowledgeable or whatever, that doesn't mean that there wasn't somebody who was running him. Uh,
He's the perfect guy.
exactly. He
He's the
really is
perfect guy.
the perfect guy. Exactly. He's so crazy. He knows so little about anything that he's ideal to be used. And particularly, as he said, "I'm ready to die for Ukraine." Well, if you're ready to die, hey, why don't you do it? So I think he would be a perfect, absolute perfect model for somebody else to use. And here's the New York Post. It says accused would-be Trump assassin Ryan Routh tried to buy rocket launcher from Ukraine, prosecutors say. So this is from April of this year. And then Routh tried to buy a rocket launcher from Ukraine just weeks before he was arrested for allegedly attempting to gun down President Trump at his Florida golf course. The 58-year-old accused would-be assassin tried to make the purchase from someone he believed to be a Ukrainian with access to a haul of military-grade weapons. In one exchange, which unfolded via an encrypted messaging app, Routh allegedly asked the associate to send me an RPG and I will see what we can do. Trump is not good for Ukraine. So
Okay,
obviously, or
okay,
Stinger,
George. I
RPG or
mean,
Stinger.
is this an Amazon transaction here? I mean, I would hope, I would deeply hope that, you just can't say, George, can you help me get an RPG sent to me here? I mean,
Yeah. Yes.
maybe, was he in what they call the dark web or something like that? But
Well, it may
I
maybe.
mean, that seems really quite fanciful, like, can
Yeah.
you
Yes.
send me a stinger, please?
Yeah. Because you would think if somebody's offering you, hey, I know where I can get my hands on a stinger. Would you like one? You think, well, that must be a federal agent, and this is obviously a false flag, and that if I go ahead with this, I'm going to find the feds knocking on my door, and I'm going to be sent to prison for 100 years. So I mean, it's like you don't engage in a conversation about getting your hands on a Stinger missile. Um, and then here's Ukraine denies links to suspect in Trump assassination attempt. Now, of course, the media reported all of this and they accepted Ukraine's denial. Now, of course, Ukraine's going to deny it. That doesn't mean that was involved with him, but of course, they're going to deny it. I mean, they're not going to say, yeah, he was our guy. Yeah, yeah, we worked well together. Kiev on Monday denied links to a man accused of trying to assassinate former US President Donald Trump after it emerged that the suspect was a supporter of Ukraine who had said he wanted to recruit foreign volunteers to fight there. Media interviews and social media posts showed that the reported suspect, Ryan Routh, was a staunch supporter of Ukraine who had traveled there after Russia's 2022 invasion. Ukrainian officials said they had nothing to do with him and accused Moscow of seizing on the link for propaganda purposes. The Kremlin, for its part, implied there was a link between the assassination attempt and US support for Kiev, saying playing with fire has its consequences. I have to say, the Russians really made nothing of the Ryan
I'm
Roof
glad you're
case.
saying that because I was thinking, what did they
They
say? I
said
don't.
nothing. There was nothing. They made no attempt to claim that Kiev was behind this. Evidence of Routh's support for Ukraine quickly emerged after Sunday's incident, including footage of him in 2022 speaking to Newsweek Romania in Kiev. And we all saw that interview. I don't know if it's still available because I tried to find it on YouTube. I couldn't see it, but no doubt you could probably find it somewhere. He went on and on and on about Ukraine and Russia during this interview with Newsweek. And he said he had aimed to help recruit foreign fighters, having been rejected as too old to volunteer himself.
I don't believe that, but
Well, I
they
guess
might have said no. I think someone would have said you're a better use to us in other ways. Okay.
I don't think he had any kind of a military background. I mean, so what use is he? He's in his late.
Well, I mean, they send a lot of people to the front that are useless
Now they
too.
do, but in the
Okay.
in the earlier days they didn't. But even if they send them, at least they had some military training. I mean, I've seen
No, no,
no
no,
evidence
no.
they've got
This
any
guy is
military training.
very opinionated, very talkative, in your face. He would have other purposes. Come on.
Exactly, exactly. Um, and then it says a lot of other conflicts are gray, but this conflict is definitely black and white. This is about good versus evil, Routh said, showing emotion as he pleaded to the camera in a shirt with American flag symbols. If the governments will not send their official military, then we civilians have to pick up the torch. Governments will not send their official military. So I guess even in America was just supposed to send in their official military to fight in Ukraine. And then he says Routh, quote, had never been a part of, associated with, or linked to the International Legion in any capacity, a unit which includes foreign volunteers for Ukrainian forces, um, told Reuters. The unit, which includes foreign, told Reuters. A Legion official told CNN that Routh had sent emails offering to recruit foreign volunteers, but Ukraine's military thought he was delusional and did not take the offer seriously. But you see, this is why you start getting suspicious when you start reading this. He's sending out an awful lot of emails, and the feds never really got onto him. Said, "Hey, we can't have somebody just recruiting, Mujahideen or whoever from Afghanistan or
Well, there
fighters from Pakistan. We can't just sending out emails and recruiting people, without the feds getting involved in this."
and we would most likely assume that some said Fed would say, well, at least his heart's in the right place. Okay.
Well, that's what we have to think. If they didn't do
Yeah.
anything, if it just carried on without any
Yeah.
disturbance, no one came knocking on his door. It's very questionable. The legality of this is very, very questionable. I'm not at all sure a private citizen can just simply start recruiting people from all over the world to go fight in Ukraine, particularly when the United States insists that it's not a party to the conflict.
Well, let's let the other penny drop. Let's say this guy was recruiting people to fight with the Assad government in Syria.
Yeah.
I bet that would have been picked
I'm,
up.
I'm, I'm sure you would be in prison right away. Imagine doing that. Exactly. If you Assad, boom, you're going down again 25 years if you start recruiting anyone to fight for Assad. Um, a Legion official told CNN that Routh had sent emails offering to recruit foreign volunteers. Ukrainian military thought it was delusional and did not take the offers seriously. Um, and then we didn't even answer. There was nothing to answer to. He was never part of the Legion and didn't cooperate with us in any way. This said Alexander Shaguri says. And then here's the New York Times. The New York Times was onto him very early on. So this interview was from 2023, and they interviewed him. So they already. So then you think nothing happened to this guy. 2023, the New York Times already knew about this. It says the U.S. volunteers in Ukraine who lie, waste, and bicker, and then people who would not be allowed anywhere near a battlefield in U.S.-led war are active on the Ukrainian front with ready access to American weapons. So you have ready access to American weapons, and again, the feds don't seem to be doing anything about it. And then here is this again with the Legion growth stalling. Ryan Routh, a former construction worker in Greensboro, North Carolina, is seeking recruits from Afghan soldiers who fled the Taliban. Mr. Routh, who spent several months in Ukraine last year, said he planned to move them, in some cases illegally, from Pakistan and Iran to Ukraine. He said dozens had expressed interest.
Okay, there's so much in this paragraph that doesn't make any sense. Okay, number one, um, recruits from among Afghan soldiers. Okay, is Americans that fought in Afghanistan or Afghans from Afghanistan
Well,
in
I'm assuming
America?
it's Afghan soldiers. Maybe they fought on the American side, but it said who fled the Taliban.
Okay.
So presumably, or they
Would
fought
they
for the
want to go?
government. They fought
Why
for
would
the
they
government.
want to go to Ukraine? Okay, I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
know why they would not go to
I
Ukraine.
mean, and if you're looking at from the Soviet experience in the 80s, then you're looking at some pretty old guys. Okay. Number
Yes,
two, everyone. There are soldiers of fortune. Unfortunately, we see Americans killing Palestinians in Gaza for money, for a lot of money. So, Ryan, are you fronting an organization that's going to pay big bucks for mercenaries, or are you just saying it's for the cause? Okay,
right,
this is very ambiguous. This is very badly written,
right,
very
right.
deceptive in my mind.
But all of this is again, first of all, there's the legality of this. How you can just simply go ahead and start recruiting people to send them to go fight in Ukraine, kill Russians. Again, the American position is still, hey, we're not in this. We are not a party of the conflict. Get an American who's involved in recruiting to send them. That could easily be a liability for the U.S. government. And then he said he's planning to send them from Pakistan and Iran to Ukraine. Well, does Pakistan have any say in this? I mean, you could be sending people who are in Pakistan. Are they in Pakistan? Are they legally in Pakistan? Illegally in Pakistan?
Well, I mean, and I think that there are many people to be interested in fake passports,
Right,
Pakistani passports. I mean, a lot of people around the world would be worried about that. Okay,
right. Yes, yes,
we can probably purchase some passports through Pakistan since it's such a corrupt country.
yes, yes.
This guy has a very, very interesting view of the world. Okay.
Yes, but it's very interesting why he's doing all of this. No, I mean, he could easily just content himself to be making podcasts or talking about Ukraine. He really wants to get involved in this fight. So this is very interesting why he's so involved in this.
And
Um,
nobody in the feds didn't pick up on
the feds
this at
didn't
all.
pick up on it. The New York Times seems to know all about him, yeah, but the feds didn't. Um, he said dozens of expressed interest. We can probably purchase some passports through Pakistan since it's such a corrupt country, he said in an interview from Washington. Yeah, well, that's good. Just purchase some passports through Pakistan. Um, and then it isn't clear whether he has succeeded. But one former Afghan soldier said he had been contacted and was interested in fighting if it meant leaving Iran, where he was living illegally.
Anyway, this is a no. If this is the script you're sending me, George, no,
Yeah, that's right.
I'm not buying it. I'm not buying
Right,
it.
right. Um, but there are Afghans in Iran, and they're a real pain.
And they're online talking about.
Right, right. Hey, I'm in Iran. I'm here illegally, and I'm kind of involved in anti-Iran terrorist activities, and we need to overthrow
And
the mullahs.
since I crossed the border illegally, I'll have to cross the border again illegally. Okay, come on, you guys.
And this is the Guardian, who also got onto um, Routh back in 2022. Ryan Wesley Routh spoke to the Guardian in April 2022. So this is going on from April 2022. The Guardian knows about him. The Times knows about him, but apparently the feds never really bothered to wonder and thinking that this guy's kind of dangerous. They seem quite happy to let him carry on. But this is a report the Guardian had to write. I mean, the Guardian had to acknowledge, yeah, we know all about him. We were in contact with him. So this is the story they wrote
Oh,
subsequently.
okay. So Ryan Wesley Routh spoke to the Guardian in April 2022 when he arrived in Kiev
Yes,
with a plan to stand with the Ukrainian. So, okay, according to the Guardian, he was in Ukraine.
right,
Okay.
right,
Now, and George and I can only speculate about his travels in between the time of then and the
right,
time he tried to kill President Trump.
right,
So when he came back into the United States, oh, you've been in Ukraine. How's the war going there? Why were you there, sir?
right. Yes.
Did anybody, did a flag go up and say, I mean, what were you
What,
doing
what,
in
what were you
Ukraine?
doing
I
there?
mean, the American State Department has a warning about Americans visiting Ukraine because the
Right,
country is in a conflict. So
right,
nobody, border control, you zip your passport through that machine. Nobody noticed
right,
anything at all?
right,
Really?
right, right.
I mean, if I go to the UK or the United States, I'm going to be Mr. Lavelle. We're going to go to a little room right now,
Yes.
okay? And
Yeah.
I'm not involved in anything like
No,
this,
no, no, no,
okay?
no. So because he seems to be he's involved in gun running, he seems to be involved in human trafficking, um, and but the feds aren't onto it. And he's involved in a war. So you think this is a person who would be very much some person of interest to the feds, but no,
And he's
apparently,
and he's very open about what he's
right,
doing.
right. So he says, Putin, here I am. Man accused of targeting Trump had, quote, delusional ideas about helping Ukraine. But this delusional ideas, this is what Ukraine was saying after the arrest. So, again, Ukraine may well be telling the truth. Hey, we didn't want to have anything to do with him, though it doesn't sound like they did anything to stop this. I mean, he spent months there. Did they prohibit him from coming back or anything like that? Um, so there's no
Well, did
evidence
he have
that
any
they
con
at any time said, no, we don't want to have anything to do with him. He can't come back to the country.
I would like to know if he had any contact with officials at the American embassy.
Yes, yes. My recollection is that he had some contacts with people in Congress. He
That's
went to
right. That's right.
Washington and met people in Congress because he wanted to brief them about Ukraine. Um, anyway, so it says here, Routh, who had been accused of trying to assassinate Donald Trump at his Florida golf course on Sunday, has been largely disavowed by Ukrainian officials. One told CNN that Routh had contacted Ukrainian armed forces with delusional ideas and denied that they had cooperated with him. We didn't even answer. There was nothing to answer to. So this is the same Alexander Shaguri. Um, and then at Przemyl station, Routh declared he would apply for Ukraine's International Brigade of Foreign Fighters, explaining that he had brought a bulletproof vest and helmet. You remember when Liz Truss was encouraging Britons to go and volunteer to fight in Ukraine, and then she had to be told, that's kind of illegal to do that. You can't go fight for another country. And so she had to, do a quick, I guess, quick 360 degrees. And she was the foreign secretary at the time, so she wasn't just some nobody. She was the British foreign
Well, wait,
secretary.
was it her when she was asked to, should the world demand that Russia what's the term I want, withdraw from
Yeah,
Voronezh?
Voronezh. Yeah,
And she said yes, of course.
that's right.
It's not in Ukraine, everyone.
Exactly, Voronezh. Yeah. Um, and then explaining that he would apply, explain that he had brought a bulletproof vest and helmet. I brought a bulletproof vest and helmet. I'm ready to be sent to the front. But without any military experience, he expected a rejection. Asked if he was prepared to kill, he said, "I will do that all day long." Okay. Adding, but me killing 2 or 3 people would not change the course of war. Encouraging thousands of people can change things. Um, and then he says he had no contacts in Ukraine. His plan: erect national flags from around the world in central Kiev, organize a human chain around them, and in his words, declare, Putin, here I am. If I'm not firing a gun, at least I'm going to be cheering them on. Go team. He calculated that if Russia bombed his protest site, it would be attacking a representation of the world's communities, which he believed would provoke global action against Russia. Now, all of this indicates that he is unhinged, but that doesn't mean that he wasn't put to use by somebody. I mean, so yeah, I mean, everything he's saying will show this is a man with some serious mental health issues, but that's not doesn't mean that he wasn't being used by others. He said, "We need thousands of civilians from every country, arm in arm, in the center of Kiev, saying this is not right. If Putin is okay with killing Ukrainians, then he needs to kill people from other countries as well. He can start with me."
He really has a death wish, doesn't
He
he?
does. He does. He's preoccupied with it. He also said that he was disappointed that thousands of civilians are not here now, like I am, standing with Ukrainian to stop this atrocity. Um, and then he said, Ukraine is a civilized society. Apparently, Russia is not. Apparently, it's barbaric and idiotic. This is 2022, not the Hitler era or World War One. We are all supposed to be educated and intelligent, but apparently, Putin doesn't know the difference between right and wrong. Routh said he had left his construction business in Hawaii having taken a month to wind down operation and tie up every loose end to get out of town. He said he had left a wife and three children so
Yeah, this
and
is like a real midlife crisis
yes
stuff.
it is, yes it is. Um, and this is a very strange kind of phenomenon in the United States. I mean, this guy who started killing people in Minnesota, killed a couple of politicians in Minnesota. That also seemed a very strange sort of person. Uh, always murky. They were working in construction or working in secure home security, and then they go off and do something
Yeah,
completely
and
flaky.
that criminology graduate student that went to
Yeah, the
uh,
criminology graduate student.
kill those kids and then
Yeah.
drove back home.
Yes. Yeah. 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 Um, son of suspect. This is also from The Guardian. Son of suspect speaks after apparent Trump assassination attempt in Florida. So this is Oran Routh says dad accused of targeting ex-president for unknown motivations was passionate about Ukrainian cause. The son of the man accused of trying to assassinate Donald Trump at his Florida golf course on Sunday said his father had traveled to Ukraine and volunteered to provide what his son described as humanitarian aid to troops defending the country from Russian forces that invaded in 2022. Now, the one thing he wasn't offering was humanitarian aid. He was obsessed with killing. He was going, we have to kill, kill, and kill. I mean, that was the motive. I mean, he was ready to die, but I don't remember him offering any humanitarian aid. But he also described his father as passionate about the Ukrainian cause. My dad went over there and saw people effing, fighting, and dying. He said he tried to make sure shit was cool and shit was not cool. So he's obviously a very articulate and intelligent young man. Referring to
Much
the
like
former,
his father. Much like
yes,
his father.
exactly like his father, referring to the former president who days earlier at the presidential debate would not answer whether he wanted Ukraine to win its war against Russia. Oran Routh said, meanwhile, this guy sitting behind his effing desk, not doing a goddamn thing. So, and uh, and then a review of posts on Twitter X associated with an account under Ryan Routh's name also show Ukraine was an important cause to him. Two posts on that account from August 2023 addressed Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky. One said Routh was in Kiev and wanted to create a tent city for foreigners in a local park in hopes that it would prompt more people from abroad to raise great support and equipment. The other suggested that Zelensky asked Congress to put all members of the US military on paid leave so they can fight as civilians in Ukraine. Oh, so, um, and so that was. I mean, that's just simply, a highlight of Ruth. And I only wanted to show this that the real question why we accept in this case and in the Crooks case the lone assassin. Now, of course, we don't have any evidence that he wasn't a lone assassin, but they're both very strange cases
Well, George, they both have
mark of a
one.
lack of interest in pursuing these.
That's what they have in common.
Right,
You know, again, there's endless numbers of books about Lee Harvey Oswald.
right,
Okay, and some really crazy ideas, and but it was in many ways the JFK assassination broke America and never recovered from it to this day, and we have the presidency means something to Americans, irrespective if they hate the president. Okay, the presidency means something,
right,
and what compounds this problem is that Trump is the president.
right.
Okay, and we've heard nothing about this since these events happened. I mean,
Right.
with this Ryan guy, I mean, is he waiting to go on trial?
Well, that's it. He apparently wants to fire his appointed defense attorneys, and he's offered himself up as a hostage. He says he wants to be swapped as a hostage. Maybe Hamas can take him, or maybe Russia can take him. Maybe some Ukrainian prisoners of war can be released and he can be taken by the Russians in their place. But apparently, the judge, and this is Judge Eileen Cannon, the same one who was presided over Trump's Florida case, I don't think she's agreeing to this deal whereby he will be swapped as a hostage. Because I mean, he's not really looking forward to spending the rest of his life in prison, understandably. But he's put forward this plan that he be swapped as a hostage.
Well, the biggest problem with all this, George and I we just never go down the rabbit hole that so many other people want to go. It gets clicks and all kinds of stuff. I'm not interested in that.
Right.
But are we being given everything that we know? You
Right.
can't break encryption? Come on, you got to do better than that. Okay, I'm sorry, I don't believe you.
Yeah.
I just
I agree.
don't.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
don't believe you.
I don't.
Okay, and then front and center is this whole fiasco around Epstein, which George and I, as we
Right.
said previously, they basically stayed away from it.
Right.
Um, there will be no prosecutions. There's no this. There's no that. Well, show us what you do have.
Right.
Okay,
Right. No,
you don't have to show us dark web video. I'm not interested in that. Okay, I would assume, given the resources of the federal government and of the DOJ, you would have some poor souls that could say, you assign them, this is going to be the worst job of your life, but you have to look at these videos.
right.
And if there's something off, if it's like a politician or, a known location on an island in a mansion, these kinds of things. Other than that, this is going to be the most excruciating
Nice.
experience of your life. But the stakes are really high right now. There's nothing to show. Well, show me that there's nothing to show. And this repeats itself over and over and over again.
Right.
You
Well,
can't encrypt. Come on, you got to do
I,
better. Got to.
I, I, I agree with you because the whole point of having all these specialists, working, in cybersecurity is that they can break encryption. I mean, if you can't do that, if you can't do it in this case, some little kid at a community college. I mean, I understand that they can't crack encrypted messaging. Russian embassy communicates with the Russian government. It's encrypted and they can't crack it. Yeah, I understand that. That's, the state resources have gone into that to make it impenetrable. I can't believe that this little kid was so brilliant that he can
Oh, oh,
crack, he can thwart the federal experts.
but you just answered it, George. If this was such a high degree of encryption, what is this kid doing with it?
Right. Yes, that's right. That's right.
What's he doing with it if
Right.
you can't crack it? Is it Russian?
That's
Is it Chinese?
right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
But interestingly enough, the government was willing to float this nonsensical theory that Iran had been trying to assassinate Donald Trump. Now, they went with that. That was a long time. And there are still people who adhere to this notion that, no, though not Trump himself, Trump hasn't bought into that Iran tried to assassinate President Trump. You know, Ted Cruz in that discussion with Tucker Carlson, he seemed to buy into that notion. And anyone with any common sense would know. Well, of course, Iran wasn't going to do something so idiotic
Well, I'm
to
sure
plot to assassinate Trump.
for Tel Aviv, Ted, I mean, obviously the Iranians wanted to assassinate Donald Trump. It's in the book of Genesis. Haven't you read it?
Exactly, all about the Persians trying to assassinate an American president. Yeah, it's in the book of Genesis. So they were willing to entertain a nonsensical theory, but couldn't get anywhere with Crooks.
But but George, let's be completely logical about this. And I'm not making a case for anything right now. But because of this lack of transparency and not being, George and I are not experts in this thing here, and we have a lot of questions, okay? And I think they're legitimate questions. Then you have to, sorry, ergo everyone, were these assassination attempts real or not? Sorry, but you
Well,
guys have left us in this
well,
category.
the
You've
reason,
left us in this
right,
space.
the reason why the Crooks assassination attempt has to be real because somebody was killed. Then, there was a person killed. So even if you don't believe the whole with Trump and his bleeding and whatever, because if you even if you don't believe that, but somebody was killed. You know, this man, this firefighter was killed. So there was clearly an assassination attempt. Now, you know, the case of Routh, he was there, he had a gun and whatever. I mean, well, he seems pretty incompetent, but nonetheless, he was there. He was caught with a gun. For some reason, he knew where Trump would be golfing that day.
That's common knowledge, right,
Oh,
George?
exactly. He knew this. He knew what time. I mean, you know, this guy who doesn't seem all that bright from just what we looked at it, but he seemed to know where Trump would be golfing because this isn't his usual. It's not Mar-a-Lago, and he knew what time Trump would be there. That's quite remarkable
Well,
where he got this information.
with the great investigation into all this, did he have any firearms experience? We don't look, everyone. I remember as a child when I lived in Colorado, my father had a 22 long rifle, and he taught me how to shoot. You have to practice a lot to just hit the can,
Yeah,
okay? I mean, you really do. It takes a lot of
yeah,
skill.
right.
You know, don't believe the junk you see in
Um,
films, okay? You have to have a discipline. You have to know how to brace your body, how to breathe,
right, right,
how to use the scope. Using the scope's really hard at first. It's so alien. So if he had no firearms
right,
experience whatsoever, I mean, there was no way he
right,
might hit the golf cart if he would, and maybe that would be even
right,
hard
right,
first time out.
right. And particularly when time is very short and you're under a lot of stress, the chances of you hitting the target are very slim. So yeah, no question. You need a lot of training. Now, in the case of Crooks, it does look like he had practiced a lot in that rifle range, which again raises the question: what, you know, why did he do this? You know, what was his purpose? Because this is already, it's been going on for some time that he'd been practicing at the rifle range. Was this always in order to get Trump? Um, then, you know, he left nothing behind. That's the thing. There was
Well, nothing was found.
nothing was found. And
Okay.
the
But did they look hard enough?
right. But the curious
I
thing
mean,
is also,
again, uh, squeaky from. I remember that. Well, it was at 75.
yeah, I think about 75. Yeah, 75. I think so. Yeah.
Okay, she was part of the Manson family and all of that, and she was on a hill. I mean, there was no way in the world she was going to able to hit Gerald Ford. Okay, she fired a few shots in the
Right.
air or something like that. Okay, and they tackled her and all that, but she's gone down in history. I remember it. Okay,
Right.
it's not like a major event in my life. It's
Right.
just that this part of the lore about assassination attempts and assassinations of presidents. I mean, but George just regurgitated for us what happened a year ago, and it's just refreshing my
Right.
memory. That tells me that this is a story that's been rabbit holed.
Right, but I mean, the Squeaky From is again. Look, she's part of the Manson family. They were absolutely insane, drugs and everything else. But most political assassinations, in fact, almost all political assassinations are motivated. They are clear.
Well, she was motivated.
Sure,
I mean,
yeah,
in her crazed world, yes.
crazy world. But let's say, I remember what about 1981, you had the assassination attempt on Reagan, when we talked about that. We had the one on the Pope John Paul II. And then, of course, we had the assassination of Anwar Sadat. So in all cases, you say, well, okay, there's a motive. Why, we know why they wanted to kill us, Anwar Sadat. That was the Muslim Brotherhood. They were not at all happy with his policies. And then we kind of know, though we don't know exactly the whole thing with Pope John Paul II, but at least it's kind of understandable. But most of these cases are, there's a political motivation. Here, Crooks is going training at the rifle range. He's very
Yeah, but George
diligent.
is
He's getting
filling out
better and better
application.
at it. So what, with a view to what? What
And
what is meant?
but he's filling out applications to go to university
Exactly.
later in the year.
Yeah.
Is that a cover?
Yeah, that's it. So you're filling out, oh, when will I receive my diploma? Well, you're about to throw your life away. I mean, I mean, whichever way it goes, whether you succeed or you don't succeed, your life is gone. I mean, you're done. And he's worrying about when he gets his diploma. Uh, so it's
Well, George, why is there the lack of interest on getting a thorough understanding of all of these? These are valid questions. I think they're imminently answerable if you put your mind to it, but there doesn't seem to be one.
yep, that's right. That's right. It's very Um, interestingly enough, and I think we mentioned at the beginning, is that Trump himself doesn't seem that interested in the matter. He talks about how he felt on that day on Butler, Pennsylvania, but he's never really talked about why, who was behind this, why, and so on. Other than talking vaguely, his children talk, oh, they wanted to get Trump, they were out to kill him. But who's the they? They were supposed to, who are these theys? So this we're left with this puzzle. 1 year on, we know nothing more, and the chances are we're not going to ever find out. At some point, this guy Routh will probably cop a plea and spend the rest of his life in prison, and that's about it. And then we're not going to hear any more about that either.
And will he have access to the media? Who knows?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
right. Anyway, I mean, I haven't really changed my position a year on. I mean, there seems to be just, colliding incompetence with indifference and everything else. Okay. Like I said in the beginning, the assassination of JFK was a deal breaker in American political culture. And this is just a footnote. Hmm.
it looks like it's going to be yeah, looks like it. And I think the fact that we have difficulties, just about everybody has difficulties remembering the name of these two assassins, or would-be assassins, which just shows it is a footnote. But we're left with this mystery. I think a greater mystery than much of the Epstein. I don't find that there's a great deal of mystery about Epstein, other than where did he get his money from, and that
Yeah, I mean, if I've been watching the across the array hair burning,
right,
okay,
right,
and it's these people that were grifters off this story, and then all of a
right.
sudden, anyway. But George is absolutely right. It's all about the money. It was it a really a vast money laundering operation? Maybe, but then why do you need to have this kind of kooky character to do all of that?
Right, right, right.
I don't
I,
understand.
I
I
don't,
mean,
yeah,
you mean you really don't need a person anymore. You need a really good algorithm
right.
for this
But
fight.
again, with money laundering, why does anyone need him? I mean, let's say you want to
That's what I'm
launch.
saying. That's
That's
what I'm
right. No,
saying.
I'm agreeing with you because let's say you're some Kazakhstani shady Kazakhstani billionaire and you want to launder your money. You don't need Epstein. There's ways to launder your money. Buy property in London or in Paris, and that's how you launder your money. I mean, what do you need him for? And the same with if you have sordid sexual taste, what do you need him for? So there's just this mystery. Where did this uh, money come from? And no one's been able to answer that question. No one has any idea.
They don't seem to be interested in
No.
it.
And all the talk, oh, Israel does not give anyone any money. That's the key to Israel. Israel is a money receiving operation. Israel doesn't give anyone any money. They're not going to give, $800 million to Epstein. No, Epstein gives them $800 million. So that makes no sense either. So that's the only part of it. But the sordid kind of sexual
So
activities, there's nothing mysterious or interesting about that.
weird people like to congregate together. Is that new? No,
Right.
that's history and time immemorial, everyone, and
Right.
it never changes. Okay, the reason why these people hung out, maybe for a wide variety of reasons. Okay, but of course, going with the sexual abuse, it titillates the worst of us
Right.
in all of us. Okay, so the only reason why I mention it is that if there's no here, then show me there's no here. What do you have? I mean, it's on my desk. What's on your desk? And show me. That's all. And then they'll say, Pam Bondi is right.
Right.
But you don't give us a reason to believe you.
Yeah.
We don't have a reason to believe that there were any real meaningful investigation to the assassination attempts on Trump. There's a pattern here. It's
Right.
always a pattern. What do you have?
Right. Right.
Why do I have to rely upon ABC News? When you have the most sophisticated, well-funded security state in the history of mankind, and
Right.
you can't break the encryption? Oh,
Yeah. That's right. That's right.
okay, and the NSA doesn't know about money, how money is being moved around the world? No? Then they should be shut down. That's what they're supposed to do.
Right. No,
Does the NSA know about this story?
that's right.
Has anyone ever mentioned those three letters in this story? Not that I'm aware of. That would be my
That
go-to.
of
Wouldn't
course
it
is
be,
a
George? Wouldn't you
that's right.
say, what's going on? Let's talk to the NSA. What's going on
You're
here?
absolutely right. But of course, the interesting thing again, the moment you bring up NSA, I was thinking about. Remember all the talk about how Russia broke into the DNC computer system and stole all this information. You get onto the NSA and say, okay, do you have a record? I mean, we know pretty much the timeline. Do you have a record of when this took place? What time and so on. It'll be very easy. I'm gonna say, okay, well that's it. That's the proof we needed. But never, Mala, no one ever brought up the NSA. Instead, they just went around regurgitating the same story, repeating it ad nauseum about how Russia did this, Russia did that, without showing, hey, there's
What
a very easy way to prove it.
what's his name? The guy that he works with Ray McGovern and these other
Oh, I know what
people.
you mean. I forgot his name. Yeah, I can see his face now. Yeah, yeah.
He wrote the
Was
program
it
for the
Bill?
NSA.
Was it Bill?
Benny.
Bill Benny. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
He wrote the program. He designed it.
Right.
And he has said repeatedly, well, NSA, I mean, don't take it from me, take it from
Right.
the guy that made
Right.
the
Right.
program himself. He said,
Right.
yeah, they can find that out.
Easy.
In a phone call, just give me
Right.
that, give it to me, okay?
That's
Look,
right.
give me 10 minutes, it's coming.
Right. Right. Exactly. Exactly.
So, I mean, I've always believed getting away from the titillating, disgusting aspects, follow the money, and that will explain everything. It will explain the peculiar tastes of some people. No, that's never explainable. That's how some people are. That's just the way they are.
Yeah.
So I don't know, people not doing their homework here,
Right.
and it just tell me it's intentional. Okay, so our Ukrainian patriot there, no flags went off when he was coming back into the country. He
Yeah.
was interviewed by Romania, a Newsweek. The
Right.
Guardian knew about him. The New York Times knew
Yeah.
about him,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
nobody in the federal government knew anything about him.
Yeah.
Really?
Your gun running, your people smuggling, you're involved in other countries'
You're imputing the
war effort.
reputation of Pakistan.
Yeah, and the feds didn't get onto him, saying, hey, you're doing things that you're not supposed to. You're an American citizen, and you're basically involved in another country's war, and you're not supposed to do that. No, nothing. No one bothered with him. But the New York Times, they spotted him. They obviously thought that this is a person who's a rather interesting, has an interesting story to tell. The Guardian did. But the feds apparently didn't. He toddled off to Congress, without no problems at all. Went into Capitol Hill. No one thought, hey, this is, what's a gun runner doing? Wandering around the halls of Capitol Hill. Well, and then lo and behold, he gets arrested for attempting to kill President Trump.
Because he knew what time and where he was going to
Yeah,
be.
yeah,
Amazing.
yeah,
Amazing.
yeah,
Amazing.
yeah.
Somebody's dropping the ball here.
That's right.
All right, everyone. Thanks. I want to thank George for bringing us back down memory lane to remind us all of the unanswered questions that have been answered. There's probably no interest in answering them
Right.
whatsoever.
Right.
Then how do you avoid the next assassination attempt unless it's planned? Okay.
Right.
Again, this the level of incompetence. It screams at you. Okay.
Yeah.
And no wonder so many people are upset. All right, this is part of our famed Sunday wrap. Okay, this is the Gaggle with Peter and George. We're on Locals. Please go to the gaggle.locals.com. I know, buddy, just give me a second here. With God's intervention and deliverance, tomorrow we'll be doing a live stream at 10 o'clock Eastern time. And then George will swoop in on Tuesday, or he'll pounce, as we say, on
Pounds.
Tuesday.
Pounds, 3 p.m. Eastern time on Tuesday. And in the meantime, you see Buddy's getting very, very impatient. Yeah, I, we need to do something about the tip jar. Buddy's saying, I'm getting sick of this. I'm getting really, exasperated. I think I'm going to go to the dark web. Buddy's going to go to the dark web, where I can chat with other chihuahuas, things you can't say on the whatever. What's the opposite? The light web. We don't want Buddy on the dark web. So if you have anything lying around, crypto, coins, whatever, straight into the tip jar. We're very grateful for all of your help, friendship, and support. The more you're able to donate, the more of these videos we can make, the more we can work on the technology, and the more likely is it that we're going to keep Buddy away from that dark web. The feds get onto you, Buddy, right away, so don't do it. So remember, if you like the gaggle, please like, share, and subscribe. See you soon. Bye bye.